Example, I might be burning tons of tokens right now, procuring new technology and integrating new software. Does that complicate sizing up the ROI?
It does, yeah.
So how?
I hate to say it, but I think junior roles are being disrupted faster than most in finance. Is something called the complacency paradox. It's a dream of every company to automate everything. Automate as much as we can. And it's going to take a while before we get there to fully autonomous AI. 40% of those were not returning in the following month.
What was the real reason behind this? 40% is a scary number.
It is.
If you were to advise a founder right now on one operational process that they should completely automate by 2027, what would that be?
So
just pick one. Every business starts with ambition to build something bigger than where it began. But somewhere between the first international order and becoming a truly global business, things get more complicated. New markets, new systems, new ways of operating. And suddenly, growth isn't just about selling more. It becomes about making decisions across borders. So how do businesses keep moving? What breaks first? What separates businesses that expand from businesses that endure? Let's find out. This is Borderless Ambitions, the definitive podcast exploring how global commerce is changing through the real experiences of operators across Asia Pacific. No playbooks, no polished success stories, just honest conversations about growth, trade-offs, and what it really takes to build beyond borders. I'm Vanessa Ho. Welcome to Pioneer Borderless Ambitions. Most businesses think growth means more customers, more revenue, and more opportunities. But growth often comes with an unexpected cost. As companies scale, they add more people, more tools, more processes, and more complexity. Today, we're exploring whether AI can change that equation. Can businesses continue growing without becoming slower? And what does the future of business operations look like when AI becomes part of the workforce? Joining us today is Ben Stein, co-founder of Staple. Ben's career spans consulting, finance, startup leadership, and CFO roles across multiple industries. Hi, Ben. Welcome to Borderless Ambitions. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me. I'm Ben. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Staple. We are a Singapore-based AI company specializing in trusted data and documents for various compliance workflows for enterprises.
What problems are Staple trying to solve today, and why are these problems becoming increasingly challenging for businesses right now?
We started out as an automation company. We help organizations deal with very large volumes of documents and data across 310 languages around the world. These are typically documents that are high consequence, compliance related, or documents that have some kind of regulatory impact. Fundamentally, we work with customers and industries in regulated domains. We started out as an automation company using AI to help alleviate these teams of busy work and the high volume of manual process. But over time, we realized that there were challenges around trusting the AI outputs or the outputs that AI generates. So we combined AI with a cryptographic layer to make sure that whatever the AI was generating could be reproduced and could be trusted and explainable for downstream audits or downstream regulator checks.
So that was the AI piece and moving from the traditional way to adopting LLMs. So where does the cryptographic piece come into play?
I'll give you an example. So if I give you an invoice for $1,000 right now, you can't just trust that invoice. You're not going to just pay me $1,000. You're going to check that this number and this counterparty agrees with your records. Or maybe you'll just ask somebody, hey, should I pay this invoice? I'm not going to just pay this guy, without checking. All of those things are forms of context. And it's important that that context is taken into account whenever a business makes a decision. What we do with that context is we cryptographically bind it to the documents themselves. so that whenever a human or an AI agent looks at this downstream, they can see that context and act on that context accordingly. Now, this is important in decision making and in getting accurate information within an organization. But because it's cryptographic, this is a language that everybody understands. It's maths, right? So that's why we do that. And that's why it's increasingly important in the age of AI, because with just LLMs or AI models, it's kind of a black box. And by adding this cryptographic layer, we can restore the link between the original file and the outputs that AI generates.
I know now Staple largely works with large enterprises, but right. You've seen companies grow alongside you as well. What are some of the biggest challenges that companies face as they scale from 20 to 200 employees?
Growing pains are part of this journey, right? It's pretty easy when it's just 2 or 3 of you in the same room. You can make decisions very quickly or change direction. I think over time, it makes sense to spread into different locations, different geographies, maybe to service customers in different jurisdictions. But every time you do that, you have longer supply lines in the sense that the communication becomes a little bit more complicated. Then you also have the headache of maybe different compliance requirements in different countries, different payroll, different tax reporting. Across all of that is the culture as well.
Yeah, precisely right. I reckon that the point on different regulatory and compliance frameworks across markets, especially as businesses become cross-border, will catch founders quite by surprise. They might already be very familiar with the way things work in their home market, but as they grow and serve businesses, other enterprises, customers in other markets, communicating that level of standards and complying with that local nuances and frameworks and regulation could be quite challenging.
These are all very hard and fast rules, I think. And I think they're especially challenging in Asia, in Southeast Asia.
Very fragmented. I think the most fragmented market in the world, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got the currency management issue as well, which is, it can be dealt with. But I think one thing that took me by surprise is just the way that different companies do business in different countries. I think relationship trumps product in most countries in Southeast Asia, as opposed to just finding a product online or someone who's sent a cold email. You need to be able to build that trust.
I like that you call this out because you can use the most sophisticated decision-making engine and AI to tell you, okay, procure from this, make this decision and select this partner or vendor. But when the relationship comes into play, it's not all AI and decision-making engines anymore.
Absolutely. And I think I've been on the receiving end of this. You probably have as well, but your email or your LinkedIn gets stuffed with a lot of cold outreach, cold messages. More and more of those are AI generated. They've probably gone through some kind of sophisticated signal detection or, prospect flagging process. But I don't think any of that really works unless you have an underlying relationship or some kind of connection to the prospect.
Before we get back to the conversation, one thing we often hear from businesses growing internationally is this: growth isn't usually the hard part. Managing payments, currencies, cash flow, and operations across markets, that's where complexity starts to show up. Payoneer helps businesses simplify how they move and manage money globally so they can spend less time navigating friction and more time focusing on growth. If you're building across borders and want to learn more, visit payoneer.com. Now, back to the show. I'm sure you've seen a lot of case studies and stories, both successes and failures. Could you share some example of businesses that seem to be really thriving on the surface, but things were starting to break down beneath the surface?
Yeah, I think a common challenge that a lot of startups or probably scale up. So they've gone through the initial growth stages. They've proven that they have a product that works to some extent. They've raised a lot of money and then they go crazy. They spend a lot of money. They focus on multiple markets without really an idea of what works and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. And They do all this without really keeping track of their underlying cash burn or their efficiency or their profitability. And suddenly, that they're out of cash. So I think that's something that a lot of scale-ups overlook or they take for granted. I'm also not so much a fan of, raising a lot of money and then hoping it works out later. I think it's important to build fundamentals, focus on unit economics and make sure that the core of what you're doing works from a profitability or economic perspective.
So what you're saying is it's not growth at all costs, which is what a lot of founders preach, right? You still have to do runway and burn rate management.
Exactly.
You have to manage like your customer acquisition cost and measuring the ROI along the way.
Right.
Than just to burn and be distracted from the original targets. When you're raising a funding round, you usually have a target of, okay, what's going to be achieved at the end of this raise and this new pool of funding. But sometimes halfway through blitz scaling and getting distracted with keeping new trends, new technology. Okay, do this pilot, adopt this new technology, procure this. They lose track of what was the initial target that they set up to achieve with this amount of funding raised.
Right. And I think related to that, there's not so much focus on things like retention as well. So customer retention. There was another case study I've seen recently where a company raised, I think, 10 million on the assumption that they were making $10 million ARR. It turns out that company had a churn rate of around 40% per month. So basically, customers who are using it in the first month, 40% of those were not returning in the following month.
What was the real reason behind this? 40% is a scary number.
It is. And when you extrapolate that on an annual basis, that means that in a year's time, you're going to have 0% retention. That means all your customers will not return in a year's time. So is that really ARR? No, it's not, because it's not recurring. It doesn't recur, in 3 months, let alone a year. So I think that's something that's overlooked, especially in software startups. Need to make sure that you're always understanding what brings your customers back, and if not, why not, and rectify that. So I think that's a trap that a lot of companies need to be careful of.
I want to move this conversation to digital transformation. And I'm sure you've heard it in the consulting room, in the CEO office. What are some of the reasons why digital transformation projects fail at enterprise level, despite senior executives backing it, a lot of investment and approvals? Why do all these projects fail?
I know that there are always challenges around the data with which you are trying to undertake. One of the most essential things is the data governance and the trustworthiness in the data that you are relying on to undertake that transformation. I think it's very overlooked. I think there's also a lot of change management and cultural aspects that people take for granted. There needs to be buy-in, obviously, from the senior leadership, but also the users that are undertaking this change. It's likely to be their daily business as usual. New system or digital transformation is something that they need to buy into as well.
I like how you mentioned the why, because the buy-in and the purpose might differ from senior management all the way down to the day-to-day users interacting with the product or the technology. With regards to all these new digital transformation technology and AI that companies are adopting right now, where are some of the levers where it's driving ROI that business leaders fail to estimate or are underestimating right now?
It's important to take a baseline to understand exactly what you're hoping to get out of AI transformation. Why are you introducing AI? What's the driver? Are you just trying to do it because you're hearing about this, or your competitors are adopting AI? You need to understand what is the actual outcome that you're driving for. In order to understand ROI, you need to understand the current state and what are the consequences for failing to meet these objectives. There's 3 areas that I think are really important. Firstly, it's the capability, 3 C's, making sure you have the tools and the different solutions to help automate, giving people the ability to access these tools and making sure that your people are comfortable using these tools. The second one is the context. You want to have a unified goal for different departments. You want to make sure that everyone's generating collateral or presentation decks that are on brand and consistent with your communications.
So standardizing the context across departments and team members.
Exactly. And that is something that the company should define. The third C, which is the cause. What's the reason? What's the why for introducing AI to this particular team? That's a why from the company perspective, but also from a team and an individual perspective.
And do you think it's really difficult to measure ROI when, example, I might be burning tons of tokens right now, procuring new technology and integrating new software, a lot of indirect cost also, right, in upskilling and switching technology and tools, to maybe seeing the results on a longer term basis, whether it's an automation or new workflow, new product line. Yeah. Does that complicate sizing up the ROI?
It does, yeah.
So how?
I mean, token maxing was all the rage about 3 months ago, and now people are realizing that it's a real problem. It's starting to eat through budgets. In terms of your question about ROI, I mean, putting these controls in place is important, and then measuring it against predefined goals that will differ from team to team. Maybe it's in terms of PRs or code quality or code velocity. In the engineering team, there's various things you want to measure against to make sure that you're not just burning tokens for the sake of it. In terms of your go-to-market team, it could be things around the number of calls or outreach activities have been scheduled. Maybe it's the collateral that's been produced from a marketing perspective. The finance team, it could be the time or cost saved for managing certain aspects of that function. It's going to be different for each team, and it's probably going to be different from company to company as well.
I can completely see the former accountant in you coming out in this right now.
I think a lot of people in my team would agree.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about growth. Were there examples where organizations grew, but the cost and the headcount underneath that didn't have to grow proportionally?
This is a bonus of being in the software, right? You can add additional output without linear growth in your inputs. You don't need to add 10 people for 10 new customers sort of thing.
But at the same time, I think a lot of our viewers and listeners are from traditional industries too. Does that also apply to them?
I think so. I mean, it obviously is going to be very different from industry to industry. If there's a need to service customers in person, then that's something that you can't always avoid. And what we've done at Staple is that we've been able to reach new markets through partners. We can sell our product in new countries without physically setting up an office or hiring new people in different countries. That's been a big help for us.
Today's conversation is a reminder that what happens behind the scenes often matters just as much as growth itself. Cross-border business means more than reaching customers. It means navigating payments, multiple markets, and operating at scale. Payoneer supports businesses with tools and services designed to help simplify global business operations and international growth. Explore more at payoneer.com. And now, let's continue. Now, let's talk about team and people management. And let's start with the finance teams first of organizations. Which roles in the finance teams will evolve more quickly with AI right now, or have been completely disrupted, and which roles become increasingly important? And we're just starting with the finance teams first.
Junior roles are being disrupted faster than most in finance. The big missing piece with finance is the human experience. AI is missing an understanding of what should and shouldn't happen, what looks right, what looks wrong. A very junior person needs to get that experience before it can inform an AI as to what's correct or...
Like flagging out a certain suspicious transaction?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe a particular accounting treatment that something, that an AI has made, it doesn't look correct. I think having some level of experience is really important there. So these kinds of experience roles are becoming more valuable because they can course correct when an AI runs astray.
And what about compliance teams then? What are some of the roles within compliance that matter more than ever before? Or new capabilities that a chief compliance officer or the compliance team members might need to have right now?
Again, the experience roles are very valuable because they can understand whether an AI has acted against policy or against the regulatory rules, whatever the case may be. A big risk is something called the complacency paradox. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but it's a dream of every company to automate everything. Automate as much as we can. And it's going to take a while before we get there to fully autonomous AI. But there's this real temptation and this real risk for us to rely on the AI more and more. The more we do that and the more we trust that the AI is right, the less likely we are to realize that something's wrong.
That's a big risk, especially for compliance officers that really have to be alert, looking out for red flags and signals.
Definitely. There was a really interesting article about this. As a society, I think we tolerate a 1 in a million risk that a nuclear facility fail. 1 in a million. But our tolerance for AI risk is far, far lower. So it's far higher, sorry. It's more like 1 in 1,000 or something like that. So, but in terms of the capabilities, I think that compliance teams need is the ability to recall information very quickly and accurately and present explainability to a regulator or auditor. The inability to do that can lead to a lot of penalties and fines for companies.
Yep. So the compliance officers do have to adapt to new reporting standards. And also, I think the base layer of whatever they have to report, even the work processes are different.
Yeah.
So the reporting might change quite a fair bit as well, and they have to adapt to that.
That's a very important point. It's an understatement. I think there are a lot of regulations that I don't think a lot of people are aware of that are coming in the next 18 months. People hear about the AI Act coming out of the EU. It may not be relevant to everybody, but if you're doing any business in the EU, you will need to comply. And there are also other countries that are adopting mirror versions of that legislation. And then there's things like the AMLA, which is the AML Act, anti-money laundering. Certain industries need to be mindful of that. Classic regulations like GDPR and HIPAA, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. What a handful.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And the thing is, these are not like overlapping. Like if you comply with one, it doesn't excuse you from compliance from another.
That's true. It seems like we need a good compliance team more than ever right now.
Yeah.
If you were to advise a founder right now on one operational process that they should completely automate by, say, 2027, what would that be?
So
just pick one.
Maybe things like generating marketing content and collateral. I think we have seen a lot of time saving with sales materials. Mm-hmm. So, but at the same time, I want to emphasize that it's important to still have human oversight, add their own stamp of uniqueness.
So what you're saying is the content output could still be largely automated, rely more on AI for that, but add a bit of sprinkle of touch to make it more unique.
I think it's great for like ideas generation and kind of looking at different prototypes and that kind of thing and testing how it resonates with an audience or maybe even a prospective client. AI is great. We've democratized access to AI for everybody, but that at the same time means that we've lifted the baseline. So everybody has access to the same baseline now.
That's right.
And we're all at this level. So your presentation looks exactly the same as the next person.
One up.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So it's lifted the expectations that you have as a prospect. You want to see something above and beyond what everyone else can generate like that.
Ben, I wish there's a crystal ball right in front of us right now. If we were to revisit this exact conversation in 5 years' time, how do you think organizations would be built and run differently?
Good question. I think we are seeing a lot of changes now that I think will become mainstream in 5 years. I'll start with an example. Like, for example, in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of contention between the roles of your traditional software engineer, your product manager, and your product designer. And
it's very in silo sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Especially when the company is quite big.
Traditionally, yes. But with the advent of a lot of the AI tools recently, each one of those people thinks that they can do the other two roles just as well.
That's true.
So we're seeing kind of and I don't necessarily agree with that, but the belief is there, and they are kind of blurring the line between those three roles, and it's becoming more of a multi-skilled generalist within that kind of department, engineering, product, and design. And I think we're starting to see that everywhere. I think in other places too. So, for example, a salesperson can generate their own marketing material now, provided they have the right capability and context that we talked about. So marketing and sales has been blurred as well. The finance person can automate collections, or they can, do the activities like accounts payable, accounts receivable, just as well as putting together the monthly reporting. So we don't need as many distinct specialists or silos that we previously did. I think there's going to be more general specialists, I suppose.
Yep. So hiring decisions would change. Job descriptions will look a bit different.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about finding team members, especially if you're CEO hiring, right? That can be fluid across different specialization that used to be silo roles to do multiple different things, carry different hats with the support of AI.
And the other thing I think we'll see as well is there'll be fewer managers. Everyone is and should be an individual contributor again. Everyone should be able to do the job because you have all this capability now to do that. And the distance between finding a problem and fixing the problem it's collapsed basically. It's very, very minimal distance now. You don't need to go, because of these roles being blended, you don't need to go through multiple steps of approval to fix the problem.
Which is good. Then the speed of everything's going to move so much faster.
Exactly. And people should be, accountable to fix those problems themselves. And they don't need to get approval to do that. They don't get in some cases, sure, you will. For example, a product person may have this looks expensive. This looks uncommercial. I'll ask the finance person for a second opinion. But, in other cases, they'll see, I don't like this particular design. It's off brand. I can fix it myself. I can fix the code myself as well. Or I can, create the PR to fix this. But I think we'll see a lot more individual contribution and a lot less of these siloed approaches.
If there's one thing this conversation shows, it's that ambition doesn't stop at borders. But global growth needs systems that can support it. Whether you're expanding internationally, working across currencies, or building operations across markets, Payoneer helps businesses like yours move with greater confidence. To learn more about Payoneer's solutions and insights for global growth, visit payoneer.com. And thank you for joining us at Borderless Ambitions. Okay, Ben, before we wrap up this episode, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Not really, but how are you doing anyway?
Okay, biggest misconception about AI?
Not a silver bullet. Definitely still needs human oversight.
One process in a finance or compliance department that should be automated today?
Billing customers, I think it's important that the moment you have the ability to bill customers, you can automate that process. By all means, do it.
One business metric that founders should pay more attention to right now?
Cash burn and retention, I think.
Okay. And one closing advice for any founders out there right now?
Don't be scared to ask for advice from other founders or even investors. I think you can get a lot of wisdom from people who've gone on the journey before. I think that's something I found myself.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Ben, for being part of today's episode. I've learned so much from all the insights, the experience, and also some of the mindset shifts that we need to have, whether we are sitting from the management level or from a day-to-day team member in the team. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Vanessa.
If there's one takeaway from today's conversation, it's that the future of growth may not be about adding more people or more processes. It's about building smarter systems that allow businesses to scale without scaling complexity. And that's exactly what Borderless Ambitions is all about, helping businesses like yours navigate growth in an increasingly connected world. Thank you so much, Ben, for coming on to our show
Thanks
again.
for having me.
And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Growth beyond borders is rarely a straight line. It's shaped by decisions, trade-offs, and the willingness to keep moving, even when the path isn't fully clear. And behind every business expanding into something bigger are people learning, adapting, and building as they go. Thank you for joining us on Payoneer Borderless Ambitions. Don't forget to follow Payoneer on all social media platforms and subscribe for more updates. Until next time, keep thinking bigger, stay curious, and keep building beyond borders.